All right, guys, welcome back to another video. We have a lot to get into today. If it's your first time here, hit the subscribe button if you enjoy what you see. If you've been watching for a while, as I see a lot of you have been from my analytics, hit the subscribe if you like these daily gaming videos. Let's start off here. Let's talk about Call of Duty and Xbox Game Pass. Now, it has previously been, now I would say, confirmed from the business update that Call of Duty games were going to be coming over to Xbox Game Pass when they do come out. As I said, the whole slate of the ABK, the first party games, are going to be launching onto the service. Now we have a further update from Phil Spencer that I would say solidifies that. If anybody had any doubts about Call of Duty coming over to Xbox Game Pass, this here is an interview with Steven Titillo of GameFile. And one of the items they talked about was Call of Duty and the Game Pass update. Now, we don't know when Call of Duty is coming. However, Phil Spencer says this about first party games. Not a new message, something we've known for a while. It says, our intent is the full portfolio of games from ZeniMax, Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox Game Studios will be on Xbox Game Pass day one. And he says day one equals when they also go on sale. Now, there isn't a specific date. I mean, Call of Duty Gulf War, I believe, from some information that has come out, is coming out in the October timeframe. They always come out October, November, around there every year for Call of Duty. So Gulf War, which is going to be the next one, Black Ops Gulf War, which actually sounds like it'll be a really cool game, a new campaign style, open world, but not the exact same style of open world that they had with Modern Warfare 3. And the Black Ops multiplayer, I think, has always been very good. So really looking forward to that one. And that game potentially should be, I would say, launching into Game Pass day one. The only thing right now in terms of what could hold this back is Phil Spencer talking about them in the back end, the development to get the Game Pass launches going for the Activision Blizzard game. Says here, we're doing the back end work to make them come to PC and console simultaneously. So unless something there holds it up where by the time October, November rolls around, they can't get this game launching into Game Pass day one, you should be expecting it into the service. And that's really exciting. I mean, that bolsters the Xbox ecosystem, your Xbox Game Pass subscription, to a value that is just mind-blowing. Like, the price you're paying for the amount of games that they are going to be releasing, especially from first party, is pretty crazy. And this was one of the questions, or one of the rumors that people were spreading around before the whole business update, that Call of Duty wasn't going to be into Game Pass and they were going to deteriorate Game Pass. None of that came to fruition. None of that came true. So we'll see how this all works out. They're obviously going to be able to still use Call of Duty in so many different various ways to bring people to the ecosystem and to sell consoles and to sell subscriptions by using the advertising and marketing rights to that game for everything Xbox. We saw how much of an effect that had during the PS4 era, where PlayStation had the full marketing rights for Call of Duty. It went from the 360 having it over to the PS4, and now it's going to be back with the Xbox. And it is an extremely powerful IP, an extremely powerful franchise that can actually move needles when it comes to the business side of things and many different avenues of revenue. I think it will definitely sell some consoles a decent amount if they're able to splash the latest Call of Duty game on the box and say that you can play it day and date. You can play it in Xbox Game Pass. All of those things will be very useful for Xbox when it does come to Call of Duty. So if you were wondering whether it is coming to Game Pass, if that was still a question in your mind, I would say you could put those worries to rest. It should be on its way day one into the Xbox Game Pass service. Now, there are a couple of other things he did talk about in this interview that was pretty interesting. The other item here, when it comes to physical media, the physical media is something that people think is essentially going away. You look at the numbers, especially on Xbox and on PlayStation, most people are fully digital. The physical games are a much smaller percentage. And a lot of people are thinking that this is going to be the last generation of physical games, at least from an Xbox console, especially since we saw the leak, as you can see the picture here, of the digital Xbox Series X. But according to Phil Spencer, at least right now, that is not going to be the case. So Steven Titillo asked Spencer if he would commit to supporting games on discs. And here is what Phil says. We are supportive of physical media, but we don't have a need to drive that disproportionate to customer demand. We ship games physically and digitally, and we're really just following what the customers are doing. And I think our job in running Xbox is to deliver on things that a majority of the customers want. And right now, a majority of our customers are buying games digitally. They're following the market, of course. That makes complete sense. Most people like having everything fully digital. And I mean, one of the major reasons why digital on Xbox is an advantage is if you have the multiple Xbox devices, you're going to be able to have that Xbox play anywhere. With physical, you can't really do that. You have to have the disc in, and then it doesn't even really transfer over. Let's say if you have an X to an S, you can only really play it on the Xbox Series X. Now, he goes on here. It says, when I pressed if Microsoft would release a console without a disk drive, he pointed out the company had already done that with the Xbox Series S, which that is true. And also it hinted at some economic concerns, saying gaming consoles themselves have kind of become the last consumer electronic device that has a drive. And this is a real issue just in terms of the number of manufacturers that are actually building drives and the costs associated with those. And when you think about COGS that we're going to put in a console, and as you have fewer suppliers and fewer buyers, the cost of the drives does have an impact. But I will say, our strategy does not hinge on people moving all digital and getting rid of physical. That's not a strategic thing for us. So take that for what you will. It does sound like they are going to be supporting physical for the next little while, at least. I do believe there will be physical drives for the next generation of Xbox, whether that is a drive on the console itself, or at least on one of them, or that is a separate drive that you attach to the console. I think they will still be supporting that, mainly because they still need to support all of the discs that are currently out there, backwards compatibility, and they've made that promise that they're going to be supporting the older generations of Xbox going forward with the newer generation. So they're not going to be able to leave a bunch of people with all these discs out in the dust. So I think we will still have drives, which I'm happy about because I still buy lots of physical games. I am one of those people in that small percentage. I love physical media still. So I hope that they do support it for a decent amount of time. And when they do stop supporting it, I'll just end up keeping that last Xbox with the physical drive as my physical gaming console before I continue to move forward. So that was the interesting thing. He also talks about an uptick in cloud gaming. And specifically, when talking about it, says any conversation we have on cloud is very time dependent because it's growing so fast, saying that Xbox cloud gaming growth in the last 6 months, has been in markets that are never going to be console markets. And that's a huge key, I think, for Xbox, and has been spreading across TVs, Chromebooks, and Android tablets. So cloud gaming is growing. And he makes a point there about these markets that aren't console markets. Makes sense. It was one of my theories when we were hearing all the rumors about Xbox putting more of their games onto PlayStation and Nintendo. One of the best things that would be for Xbox if they were to do that is, or they are doing it, but it would be being able to access where the gamers are in markets that just don't purchase Xboxes. It doesn't matter how many great exclusives you put out, those markets aren't going to be Xbox markets. So if you still want to make money off of those customers, you have to put your games where those customers are. And obviously cloud is another way to be able to tackle that. And him saying here that they are growing. And he says as well that gaming via the cloud now accounts for a double-digit percentage of total hours of Xbox games played, saying there was a time when we weren't deploying more server blades because we had more supply than we did demand for the server racks that we had in place. That's clearly not true today. So cloud adoption is definitely picking up, and that's something I think a trend we will continue to see as the technology gets better, as people understand where they can access and play these games more, especially when they start bundling these cloud apps with smart TVs and stuff, and people realize they can play all their games with a TV that they purchase. That's just going to continue to grow. I mean, we're seeing wait times and stuff now with certain games on Xbox cloud gaming, so they're going to have to continue to increase their supply to meet the growing demand of the cloud. So that was some other interesting stuff here from this interview with Steven Dotilla on the future and what is currently going on here at Xbox. When it does come to Xbox Game Pass, we got the latest slate of games for the service that were announced, and it's a decent slate of games. There are definitely some good games there, nothing mind-blowing, but we'll just quickly go through it. First game here that's available right now is Return to Grace, which is an adventure game with various fractured AI personalities. It says, as you uncover the great mystery of why she was shut down all those years ago. It's a first-person narrative adventure set in a visually stunning 60s retro sci-fi world. The next game here is Tales of Arise, cloud, console, and PC. And everything I've heard about this game sounds phenomenal. I actually have a copy of it that I just never got around to playing, and now it's in Xbox Game Pass, so I will definitely be jumping into Tales of Arise. One thing I will say with this game that I did see online It's just before you decide where you want to play, whether it's console or PC. I don't believe this is one of those games that has the play anywhere feature to it, where your saves are going to transfer over between the two platforms. So make sure wherever you start is where you're going to want to complete the game. Now we have some more games here coming soon. Bluey, the video game, coming on February 22nd to cloud, console, and PC. Anybody with children out there are going to be very excited for this, as I'm sure their kids will see this game and want to play it on Xbox Game Pass. Man Eater, which is like that shark action RPG game, coming February 27th, cloud, console, and PC. That was already in Game Pass before, but it is coming through again. And as we know with Game Pass, it is a revolving door for some of these games. We have Madden NFL 24 coming to cloud and from EA Play February 27th. I believe this game's already out there on Game Pass itself for console and PC. So if you want to also play it on cloud now, you're going to be able to do that. You have Indivisible coming to cloud, console, and PC on February 28th. Also, I believe that one was in Game Pass previously as well. And it says here, immerse yourself in a fantastical world with dozens of playable characters, a rich storytelling experience, and gameplay that's easy to learn but difficult to master, with a huge fantasy world to explore and a variety of characters to meet and fight alongside. So sounds pretty cool. Space Engineers coming to cloud, console, and PC on February 29th. And this is a sandbox game. I mean, the name gives it away itself. You are engineering, constructing, exploring, and surviving in space. And then Warhammer 40,000 Bolt Gun coming to cloud, console, and PC on March 5th. And this is a retro style first person shooter, think Doom, and you'll get an idea of what this game is all about. I've played a bit of this. It's actually a ton of fun. So definitely check out Warhammer 40,000 Bolt Gun on March 5th. So that's the slate of games. Definitely stuff there that I will be checking out. Let me know which games from this announcement that you guys will be playing via your Xbox Game Pass subscription. Okay, let's jump over here. Let's talk about some more layoffs. I mean, this has been something that continues to happen. And as I've said on the channel, I will be going over as many as I can. If I see them, I will talk about it. And we have some more layoffs here from Build a Rocket Boy. And apparently they are definitely going through layoffs, as they've updated the original story where they weren't sure, but they do have an update here saying Build a Rocket Boy has confirmed to Insider Gaming that they will be laying off employees, and the studio didn't divulge the number of people being let go. Now, I don't know too much about this studio, but they are a studio that was founded by Rockstar North president and Grand Theft Auto producer Leslie Benzies. And the games that they are working on, they were founded in 2018. They're working on two games, Everywhere and Mind's Eye. Everywhere was first revealed in 2022 as a closed alpha that happened back in December. And Mind's Eye is a story-driven action adventure that involves futuristic vehicles and weaponry, corporate and government conspiracies, and sinister new technology. So those are two games that are being worked on, and not a surprise, studios everywhere are having layoffs. The industry is shrinking. It's costing lots of money to make these games. They have to find ways to make back their money. That usually comes by the way of layoffs to try to increase their overall margin. So we'll see what happens with this studio, how many layoffs there are, and how this affects the two games that they are working on. Okay, so we have some more Sony information here. So last week we had the information from their financial report, and their financial report was not very good on the PlayStation side of things. It really had a hit on the Sony stocks, wiping $10 billion off the slate. At least that played a part into that. And what we learned from those financial reports were two major things. One, they had to reduce the forecast for their PlayStation 5 sales forecast. They had it at 25 million. They reduced it down to 21 million. And then we also learned that their operating margins were not very good, in the single digits. I think it was like 6%. And it's not something that investors want to see. They want to see that operating margin obviously increase wider, higher percentage. And that is something that PlayStation is going to have to work on going forward. And they are going to be doing things like putting games onto other platforms, going to the studios and see how they work from the business perspective and making major changes. And now we have the Q&A that was released from the investors call, fully translated properly. And we have some more information about what Sony has been thinking and what they are going to be doing. So first of all, when it comes to Bungie, Hiroki Totoki talked about Bungie assuming accountability and development timeline. So he says this, he says, I visited the Bungie studios and had meetings with management, and I saw that employees working at the studios were highly motivated, showing great creativity as well as an impressive knowledge of live services. And That's why they purchased Bungie, is that right there, that knowledge of live services with the success that Destiny as a franchise has been. They want to bring that over, use that knowledge to be able to create multiple live service games as a part of the PlayStation portfolio, as another way to bring in revenues that's different than their big first party cinematic single player style of games. It continues on here and says, however, I also felt that there was room for improvement from a business perspective with regard to areas such as the use of business expenses and assuming accountability for development timelines. I hope to continue the dialogue and come up with some good solutions. And to me, you read in between the lines is that he is saying here, they need to make sure they have more streamlined development timelines so they aren't wasting money, and that the expenses of creating these games really get efficient in a way that they are going to be able to probably better estimate how much it's going to cost, so they can decide whether projects are worth doing, continuing, what cutbacks they're going to have to make in terms of expenses as they're developing these projects, so that they can make more money from each game that they do release. And if you remember, a while back, there was an interview with IGN, or there was an IGN report, I should say, that the company's board structure is contingent on Bungie hitting certain financial goals. And if it fails to do so, Sony can reportedly choose to dissolve the existing board and assume full control of the company. One of the major things with the PlayStation acquisition of Destiny was them continuing to operate independently and them still being able to put their games on every single platform, including Xbox and Nintendo, maybe for the Switch too, if they want to do that. But apparently from this report is if they didn't meet certain financial goals, Sony could step in here and assume full control of the company. Now, that has not happened. We'll see if that does ever end up happening in the future, especially as they continue to work on future games like Marathon, how that ends up coming out and how much money they make off of that. But that was just one interesting part from the Q&A in terms of how PlayStation kind of viewed Bungie and how they did business. The other interesting thing here that has a lot of people talking, which I find it funny because this is not anything new. This is not something that Sony doesn't already do. And this is something where the writing has been all over the wall now for years. And that is PlayStation expanding out and putting their games onto more platforms. So here's the question. It says, what will be the keys to improving your operating margin? And Hiroki Totoki says, when it comes to PS5, one challenge that sets this console cycle apart from PS4 and previous generations is that we find it difficult to reduce our costs during the course of the cycle. Unlike high-spec PCs, PlayStation consoles enable us to offer an immersive experience for many people in a safe environment with affordable price. To offer that kind of experience with costs for components like chips and memories on the rise, one key will be we continue to sell consoles without substantial discounts during the course of its product lifecycle by engaging in product planning that ensures affordability for customers. And I mean, we've seen that throughout the first 4 years of PlayStation. Not only the Slim, but even before that, there were like 3 different versions of the PS5 where clearly they were just trying to go in there and optimize the cost to create the PS5 so that they could keep selling it at the same price for the customers. Goes on here and says, another driver will be first-party titles. Strong titles that achieve growth on PlayStation 5, PCs, and other platforms will widen our margins. We believe that we have opportunities for margin improvement and intend to pursue them aggressively. And again, this is he's iterating again what he said during the financial results last week. PlayStation games are coming to other platforms. First-party PlayStation games are coming to PC, and they may be coming potentially to other consoles, Xbox, the Nintendo Switch. But what he's probably really focusing on here when he says this is more on the mobile side of things and the PC, of course. But it's not counting out Xbox and Nintendo Switch because, as I said, I mean, they already are doing that. There's already games from PlayStation that are going to be coming to those consoles. There's a game that's there with MLB The Show. And whether that is because of the MLB forcing it or PlayStation liking this decision, I'm sure they like the overall revenue results they're receiving from MLB The Show going on to the other platforms. It's kind of irrelevant. They're already doing this. So there's a whole debate here as will PlayStation be bringing their games over to Xbox and Nintendo? They already are. And Bungie is going to be publishing their games onto all of the platforms. Next Marathon is going to be coming to Xbox. All this stuff is happening. The entire industry, when it comes, at least from the Xbox and PlayStation perspective, has completely changed and will continue to go down this route. The whole exclusivity thing is all going to be just very different. You are going to be questioning which games are exclusive and which games aren't, because both of these companies now are going to be trying to increase their revenues, as they both have slimmer operating margins. They both need to be able to make more money. And the way to do that is to put your games out in front of more people. At the end of the day, this is better for gamers. I think this is better for everybody. So it's kind of exciting to see that we have actually evolved to a point where in the future, you're really going to be able to access more games than fewer games, which again is always a better thing. And then we have this prediction report, is something that we have seen coming and we're expecting in 2024. And that is the PlayStation 5 Pro. Analysts are saying that it should be releasing this year and that it could potentially be releasing with a proprietary DLSS-like solution, which that's kind of where I think we will see the biggest jumps with these next generation consoles, with things like AI and these DLSS style things that allow these consoles to give a better performance and frame rate without having to release like an $800 box or something, but bringing it closer to the higher end experiences, which that you could see on PC potentially, of course. Now, the consoles will never get up to PC, the high-end PCs at least. However, what the consoles have a huge advantage of going forward is going to be releasing with games like GTA 6. And this is where this PlayStation 5 Pro thing gets interesting, because we have the analyst Serkan Toto, CEO of the Tokyo-based consultancy Kantan Game, saying that there seems to be a broad consensus in the game industry that Sony is indeed preparing a launch of the PlayStation 5 Pro in the second half of 2024, and Sony will want to make sure to have a great piece of hardware ready when GTA 5 hits in 2025, a launch that will be a shot in the arm for the entire gaming industry. And some signs that they are inching towards that is we are already seeing discounts on the PS5 Slim. There's actually been some discounts in Europe for 75 euros, 75 and 70 pounds, depending on where you are. That's how much you're going to be able to save. So PlayStation is more than likely getting ready to announce and launch the PlayStation 5 Pro. We will see how much more powerful it is than the Xbox Series X. There's been rumors out there that it's like 14 teraflops and stuff, but we know all those numbers really don't mean much. All that matters is how do the games perform. And I think the features like a DLSS solution, like the FSR stuff that AMD has, like that is going to be the important stuff with these upcoming consoles, to be able to give people better feeling games, higher resolutions, higher frame rates, and have all that stuff be able to run on a $400, maybe $500 box. Okay, let's jump over here. Let's talk about Helldivers 2, because Helldivers 2, very successful game. Looks great. I'm going to be jumping into it in the next week or so probably. But they have had issues with the servers of people not being able to actually get in because their servers can't handle them. And the CEO of Arrowhead Games has actually told players asking for more servers that the situation isn't as straightforward as just getting a bunch of servers active so that they can jump in and play. So if you're wondering what is going on here, is kind of what is going on. It says, however, this unexpected success has come at a price. The game has been facing technical issues, several of which appear to have spawned from the sheer number of players attempting to play it, and now spotted on PC games. And Arrowhead CEO Johan Pelstead has responded to a now deleted tweet from a player who asked why the studio can't just buy new servers to deal with the crowds. And here's what he says. It's not a matter of money or buying more servers. It's a matter of labor. We need to optimize the back end code. We are hitting some real limits. And people were just tweeting at him saying, stop tweeting and fix it. And he says this, yes, good idea. I will sit behind the engineers and ask them, are we there yet? Or I could let the engineers work independently towards our common goal without me as the CEO pestering them at every moment. I wonder which one will work best. And then he also goes on to say that he made a mistake here by giving players double XP because of the issues with the game, realizing that that probably wasn't a good idea because that's probably helped overload the servers even more, saying, yeah, in retrospect, this was maybe not the best idea. And then obviously saying hashtag my fault. So Helldivers 2, great game. Not nobody, but a lot of people can't access the game because of the server issue. And he is just being honest in terms of what is going on here. I wonder if this will truly have a major effect on the overall concurrent players and the success of the game going forward once they actually do get this worked out? How many people will have moved on from Helldivers 2 by the time everything has been fixed and everybody can access it no problem? Will people still be going to jumping back in and playing the game? I'm sure people have already asked for refunds. I know people in my own personal life have actually submitted refunds because they couldn't play it and they didn't want to waste their money. So we'll see what happens here with Helldivers 2. But overall, again, it is interesting how quickly this one has taken off, and I wonder how much of a roadblock this is going to be. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, you like what you've seen, hit the subscribe. Appreciate all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.